Welcome to Old Sins Reviews. My name is Joseph Cadotte, and I am the author of Job herself, as well as other books, all of which are published by Old Sins. Today we'll be looking at Lev Grossman's The Magicians. The Magicians is basically a somewhat more realistic version of Harry Potter. It takes place in a world where magic is hidden, just as it is in the world of Harry Potter, but for much better reasons and for what I would say more realistic methodologies. The opening book takes place, as do most of the books have some influence in it, but the opening book primarily takes place in a grad school for people who have magical aptitude. This is much better than the Hogwarts idea, because the kids at this grad school, first, are in their mid-20s, and second, actually have an education. Unlike those who are just studying potions and defense against the dark arts, these kids actually know what math is, and history, and physics, and sociology, and other fun things that are required to understand what is going to be happening in the world. Let me rephrase it. In the television series, it's grad school. In the books, it's a college. But still, they actually have more of an education than the students do at Hogwarts, which is a very, very good thing. So they're not amazed by cars and other such things which are commonplace, as is the case with, say, Ron's father in the Harry Potter series. Now, the world then expands beyond that into multiple worlds and multiple realms, all underpinned by what is a fundamentally logical magic. And this is very important. The magical system in The Magicians makes some sort of sense. Not necessarily a sort of sense that we can understand it as mundanes, but it is derivable and it is understandable based on what they have learned before. It's, in other words, another form of science. I find, as I read fantasy, that some of the best fantasy works all have a derivable magical system. You can look to another series of works that I have suggested in the past by Brandon Sanderson, the Alloy of the Ages, or whatever you would call it, series, which is excellent, and I highly recommend it over this one, even though I do like this one. You can also see Larry Niven's Magic Goes Away series, and even the magic / hyperphysics of Roger Zelazny's Trumps of Amber series. Another one I, again, recommend above this series. That said, I do recommend Lev Grossman's Magicians. I think it is roughly 2 3/4 books of excellent fiction. The problem is... No, wait, 2 1/4. 2 1/4. The problem lies in the first half of the first book, where we get to know the protagonist, who is a massive tool. A completely unsympathetic character who is extremely childish and extremely annoying in pretty much every way. This isn't to say it's not a realistic portrayal, because I think it is. And sadly, I think people like myself and many others have lived through that moment of being a complete putz themselves, so will unfortunately identify with this character. However, because everything is from his perspective, half the time you're trying to strangle the guy, because he's just... ugh. This isn't to say it's not well written or well explored, because it is. I'm just saying that when your primary character is a complete and utter yutz, and then views everybody else through that lens, it really ruins the experience. I'm not saying that all books have to have sympathetic characters. I'm just saying a point of view character who isn't so totally unsympathetic is probably a good idea. Then you have some rollicking adventures, massive amounts of trauma, which would be more consistent when you're dealing with otherworldly entities that are vastly more powerful than you are and vastly more intelligent than you are. Ultimately ending the series in a fairly satisfying way, except for the last, I don't know, about 5 pages. If I were you, I would skip the last 5 pages altogether. The protagonist and his friends develop realistically and profitably throughout the series. The characters are well constructed and grow in their own way, in fairly reasonable ways. Nothing comes out of left field, everything makes sense, except the very end where the protagonist repudiates everything he learns and resets himself into being the complete and utter dick that he was at the beginning of the series. So I have no idea why this is the case. It strikes me that Mr. Grossman was trying to get across some sort of point that he realized that the books were not making, because they weren't, and therefore goes on a 5-page long, roughly long exegesis about what he actually thinks about things. And I hope he has matured, because there's no other way that this would, that you could get that message across except for that, and I commend him for figuring out a way to do it. However, it is a horrible message that contradicts literally everything the books have said. The reset to zero, the return to a very childlike state of pure selfishness and lack of learning is really leaves a lasting impression that is highly negative. And I did not like that at all, because you have this wonderful work that ends in a, oh wait, that's not what I meant, here's what I meant, sort of almost essay at the end. I think that the author just should have left that out, and I hope that you, when you read these works and enjoy them as I have, will do exactly the same. There's another thing to this. There's the television series. I have not seen the 2nd season, which is wrapping up as we speak. I'm waiting until it's finished before I watch it, also until it's free on Hulu and not NBC's awful sci-fi site. But the 1st season of the series was very good and has some of the prettiest casts I've seen in a long time. They are all excellent actors, and they do their jobs wonderfully, and they really capture, say for example, the sympathy of the Alice character or the punchability of the protagonist. So I do recommend watching that if you have time. I recommend reading the books first. There's some deviations, most of which are actually better than the books, but it takes the books to understand why they are. And this dog park is getting loud, so I'm going to stop here. This has been Joseph Cadotte for Old Sins Reviews. Please pick up my latest ebook, Job Herself, or any of the other works that we have published. My own, John Station, A Soft Murder, or In the Land of Nod, or Elizabeth Kidder's, shoot, I should know the title of this book. I actually suggested it. Elizabeth Kidder's book. It's her only book. It's good. It's very good. It's a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. There, I've given you more time because I forgot your book's title. Bye-bye.